All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you making the time to be with us tonight, this afternoon, depending on what coast you're on here, what part of the world you're in. My name is Gabriel Miguel. I'm the founder and executive director of the Anastasia Foundation. And I'm just introducing myself for the people who don't know me or people who might be watching on YouTube later. And we're building the Ringing Cedars movement in the English speaking world by connecting, inspiring, and empowering Ringing Cedars readers everywhere. So we have tons of programming going on all the time for any new people. Lots of ways to get involved and get connected. And so this is one of them. This is the now international Ringing Cedars community call. Very happy that I'm not just focusing it on North America anymore. We're just getting people from all around the world joining, even if I said it was North America. So we just had to open it up. And yeah, the point of this call is for us to just have a relaxed, informal, open discussion about anything related to the Ringing Cedars focused. So we'll be here for probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, something like that. And you can talk as much or as little as you like. There is no, uh, there's no compulsion for you to share if you don't feel like it, or you can just completely listen and just hang out while we're talking and enjoy the conversation, you know. I'm sure that everybody's going to be as, respectful and kind as possible. And we're just focusing on connecting and sharing anything inspiring and uplifting related to the Ringing Cedars. And so, how I like to start these is I love to ask everybody what your location is. So if you want to share your location in the chat, I should maybe, yeah, I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and I know we've got some familiar faces here. We've got Mark, he's in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I haven't been in Santa Fe in a long time, probably like 6 years. Um, Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Willow is in Ontario. I saw she updated her name here. Very cool. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Never been. Sure, it's beautiful. Um, Costa Rica, Brad in Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is so small that we don't really need to specify too much, huh? You could probably drive across the island pretty quick, I'd imagine. Um, Claremont, California, Big Island, Hawaii. Very cool. Airzy, nice to see you. It's been a little while. Castleton, Vermont, super cool. Love Vermont. Green Mountain, London, England. See, exactly. We got the international calls now. Mid Michigan, iPhone. Yeah, I love seeing an iPhone here. If you wanna, if you're able to update your name, that would be cool. iPhone, iPhone from Mid Michigan. No pressure either way. But very cool. Nice to see all these different locations, people coming in from around the world. I love to see this. And that's not even everybody, I think. So, okay. Um, so how I like to start these is I like to give people the opportunity to introduce themselves. Oh, it's Rob. Okay, Rob, nice to see you, brother. I never know who it is. Um, oh, you have Nicaragua north of us and Panama below us. Costa Rica is not an island. Oh, super interesting. Yeah, my geography of the Caribbean is probably not as good as it should be. Um, so great. I like to give people the opportunity to introduce themselves and kind of let the conversation flow from there. So if anybody has anything that, as well, if you guys have anything that you'd like to discuss, any questions that you'd like to pose to the group, or any experiences or anything that you'd like to share, stories related to the Ringing Cedars and stuff, feel free to think about those and have something ready to share if you want. Um, and if not, usually the conversation just develops from people introducing themselves and saying what's on their mind and sharing a little bit about themselves. And I'll go first and then I'll just go around and give people a chance. So, my name's Gabriel, and I actually found the Ringing Cedars books. I'm coming up on my 10th anniversary in November, which is going to be pretty interesting for me, having read the books almost 10 years ago, and everything that how it shaped my life since then. definitely the probably best experience of my life, having found the books and everything that has happened since then. I feel like when I found the books, I just they completely rebuilt me in such a good way that I could have never imagined. I don't know if other people feel the same way about that here, but that's what the experience was like for me. So I won't say too much about myself, but really excited about coming up on 10 years here and then seeing what the next 10 years is going to be like after publishing the books and the foundation growing and watching settlements and stuff start to appear all around the world and everything we're doing. Um, it's going to be a next crazy 10 years, but beautiful. Yeah, Arzy says, yes, they changed the entire trajectory of my life and my heart. Yeah, me too. I don't know if you guys have heard me tell this little story before, and sorry if it's repetitive, but I remember when I was halfway through book one, I just took the book in my hand and I was like, I found everything that I ever wanted in my life. I found all the answers. I can't believe that it's in front of me in paper form. There's no mysticism, no crazy dogma. There's no uh, obscuring the pure truth that's coming through here. I'm like, I can't even believe that this exists. And I'm like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I have to share this with people because I can't believe that I found uh, the answers. And so that was how it changed, how it changed my life. And that's why I'm here. And I get to spend my time with amazing people like you guys. So that's how I'm here. Um, but yes, so if anybody wants to go next, that's a little bit about me. We've got some new people here. I'll just see if anybody wants to go. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Feel
Gabriel,
free to just jump in. Yep.
just so that you know, you're a side view rather than a front view.
Yeah, I don't have enough space in my room for my camera here, so I can only really do the front view when I'm doing interviews and things.
Okay. Just usually you're front view. So I just thought it was odd. So I thought I better tell you.
Got it.
So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So since I'm on, I'm Willow from Ontario, Canada, as you can see. And yeah, just hoping that more people do things like this and looking for a partner to share my life with. Um, good man that,
Love that.
yeah, would be in harmony with me and me with him. And I think I'll leave it at that and let other people jump in.
Thank you. Thanks, Willow. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Ergi. Gabriel, thank you so much for
I had the
holding
same
down.
question as you.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you for holding
sorry.
down the fort for everyone. I'm hearing somebody else, but I'm not seeing them. But I'm Ergi. I'm on
Yeah,
the
that
Bay Island, and yeah, uh, everything you said, Gabriel, it resonates in my heart. Where I I cry. I just sat at the beach and cried and cried, and I would go there on my lunch breaks and read these books and just cry and cry and cry because I felt like I was reading truth for the first time, and all of the things that I secretly wanted in my life but thought I couldn't have, in terms of love and feeling good and feeling like I was, doing right action in the world. Someone was actually saying for the first time, actually, no, those desires you have are holy and real. And um, so yeah, that has been in my heart. And then also whoever just
Mhm.
shared, Willow, I'm right there with you. I think it's so scary to say that one is still looking for their beloved, and I'm right there with you. I'm calling in my beloved as well. So I wish you finding your beloved as swiftly and beautifully and perfectly as possible, and for everyone out there who's doing that. It's such a scary and terrifying to say that, and at least for me anyway. And but I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah, I hear that. I got to thank Anastasia and Vladimir and her grandfathers for making that a more normal and a more normal and acceptable conversation to have, right? The most important conversation, who you're going to spend your life with, right? And not being afraid to say that. And it's great that you can be in company of people who feel the same way. So
And eternity
I love hearing this.
to spend eternity with
Eternity, right?
them.
Amen. Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't have said it better. Hearts up. Hearts up. All right. Beautiful. Thank you, Erzi. Nice to see you. Always good to have you here. Beautiful room you're in, by the way. The lighting is great. Um, all righty. Anybody want to go next? Okay, Martine. Hi, you gotta unmute yourself.
Okay, I just wanted to check in briefly. I'm in California. I've been going back and forth for the last almost 4 years between Marin County, California and Missouri. And my daughter's in Missouri. I hope she's going to be able to get on. She clicked the link and it somehow came up with a message saying it wasn't private and wouldn't let her in. So I don't know what's going, but she'll
Oh,
hopefully coming in from Willow Springs, Missouri. And just the both of us are really searching for where to put down roots in a kin's domain. We're just not sure where to go or how to do that. She's created an amazingly lush garden on a little tiny little 8 acre place with a little house on it, and it's just pumping out food. And just we really want to be with a group. And so maybe talk more about that later if time comes up. But meanwhile, thank you for being here. And hi, Mark. Somebody that I know. Nice to see you. Okay.
beautiful.
All right, thank you, all of you. I'm going to turn my screen off because I need to pop up and down for a couple of minutes, but I'm listening and I'll come back. Thank you.
Yep, you're good. Welcome, Martine, and hopefully your daughter can make it as you said. And yeah, I don't know if you've connected with Wyatt at all in Missouri, if you know who Wyatt is. But yeah,
We
he's definitely the Missouri guy.
we do. We have we know about him, but we haven't really met him
Okay.
yet. So that'd
Then
be
I can get you guys connected for sure.
that'd be
He's
great
the
because
he,
we'll go visit him or he could come visit us and we could tune in. Yay, goody.
yep, yeah, he's got a lot to do over there. And Elizabeth on our team is also still there for a little bit. I'm not sure how long she's going to be there, but she's been living there for a while too. So her and Wyatt are both
Okay,
in the
good.
same area. I think visiting them, you guys would have an amazing time.
Okay, great.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah, let's connect about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, we got Vlad joining. We've got Prakriti from our team who just joined. She's in Japan, which is I always find super cool. Um, Vlad's in California. All right. Somebody want to go next?
I can go next if no one else wants to. My name is Brad. I'm currently living in Costa Rica, lush and beautiful Costa Rica. If no one's been here, it's amazing. It blew my mind the first time coming here. I always thought one day I have to go and live in this country. So here I am. Been here 3 years.
Mm,
I'm from Canada, where we have 3 seasons, not four. We have winter, July, and August. It's a joke, but it feels like
I
winter
hear
pretty
that.
much most of the time. But great growing seasons down here. Everything is always growing, and yeah, that's why I am here. I'm currently on the look for some beautiful land. And funny enough story, I'll just mention quickly. We had a meeting, my
Please.
family met with another family here recently, and I found out that the fellow moved here from the States. I forget where offhand, but in 2007, I believe, and he I guess we through our conversation, first time meeting him, I found out he read the whole Ringing Cedars books as well. He has them all, and he bought a 50-acre piece of land close by here where I am, and currently living the Anastasia lifestyle. So I was like, what? What's the odds of that? So I think it's about intention. Keep putting out to the universe your intention. If it's that to find that wonderful partner in your life to co-create with, and just keep believing it'll happen, and it will happen. And it happened to me, so I'm grateful for that. And it took us 12 years to co-create and have children. So now we were blessed with twins in our life. So we are beyond like blessed at this point. So now we're just looking for the land to continue our blessing with. So thank you. Nice to be here with everyone.
Wow, that's beautiful, Brad. Thanks for sharing, brother.
I'm not sure if my audio is working.
You're good, Patricia. We hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm having
Welcome.
technology challenges, so I'm using old equipment, which for someone who's been in IT for over 20 years, probably is really embarrassing. But anyway,
You're good.
when you
We hear you.
thank you. Yeah, when you going back to the beginning of the conversation, because I've heard pretty much everything, but it was my microphone for some reason wasn't working. When you said you started 10 years ago, that's very interesting. But I came across the books by happen chance, in a sense. I was listening one day to the Inspired channel with Chris and Jean Nolan, whom I think
Yep.
came from the Ukraine, didn't they originally? Anyway, they're in
They're
American.
from Sweden.
Is it Sweden? Okay.
Yep.
I know they
Or
they
like
have a
Austria, one of those.
yeah, they have a remarkably good English type accent, so I was kind of confused. Anyway, the point is that one day Jean was extolling the virtues of Ringing Cedars. I'd never heard of it. I'm in Southern California now, but I came from Wales in the UK in 1979, and I was born incidentally during World War II in the UK. So I'm kind of ancient, possibly one of the most ancient people here in terms of calendar years, but I don't feel it. But the point of my comment about 10 years ago, I heard this on the Inspired channel, and I had enormous difficulty finding an English translation of the books since I don't speak Russian, although I did at one point try to learn Russian, but gave up. And now I'm in the midst, I've got all the books except 8.1. One of the last books I ordered from the Ringing Cedars bookstore has just arrived this afternoon, but your window of opportunity came up. And
Wonderful.
I find it taking me longer to read the book because I'm bursting out in tears. I mean, there isn't a single volume where it hasn't moved me. But one of the ironies is that in 2015, where was I? I was 74 in 2017. As a result of growing up in wartime Britain, one of the things I was very fortunate to have was a father who was an officer in the British Navy, but shore-based. So we always had self-sufficiency. We always had houses where the yard was big enough. And my father, ironically, although he was shore-based Navy, still had shore leave, which in later years we thought was hilarious. So we were growing all the vegetables we needed. We had chickens and rabbits in the backyard. And so in spite of rationing, which was quite severe in the UK during the war, we always had good source of food. We also had a farm in the family with dairy cows, excellent milk, I might add. Dairy cows, pigs, chickens, the whole kind of food. But it was completely off the grid. There was no telephone. We had to generate our own electricity, had to pump our own water. So in 2015, I came across a copy of Mother Earth magazine, and then I came across the first reference to Ringing Cedars, and I thought all of the things that I'd been planning on doing was getting off the grid and starting to do be self-sufficient and use my knowledge in my early years, because I always wanted to be a farmer. Use that knowledge to create this space of love. And where was I going with this? I'm probably talking too long, but I so much wanted. I kept missing the last couple of times you were on the monthly call. And at some point, I would love to have a private Zoom call with you, because I've got a couple of projects that humanitarian type projects that I think would be interesting, but I'd like to get your take on it. And I don't want to publish that right now to everybody. But I did try to connect with you on Facebook, and I'm not sure what the best way is to connect with you. But if you ever have a spare moment and we could do a Zoom call, I have an account with Zoom, as I'm sure you do. I'd love to discuss this because I don't want to go off the deep end doing something that may be redundant or not helpful. But my idea, it revolves around providing additional resources for people who want to get off the grid, follow the Anastasia and Vladimir Megre's ideas, but to give them additional support for the kind of things that may not be practical in a hectare of space of love. So with that, I'll yield back to you, and I'm so glad that you and everybody else is here.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Patricia. It's nice to hear about everything you're sharing here, and we can connect offline, and I'm interested to hear about what you're working on. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely.
Blessed be.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. The floor is open, friends.
All right, I can go next. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfectly.
Okay, wonderful. So I am currently living in Canada. I moved to Canada over 30 years ago from Poland. And just this spring, I went back to visit my family, and I went to visit my sister who moved from Germany and bought a piece of land in Poland. And I walked onto her land, and she just mischievously said, "Oh, this land next to me is for sale." And so I walked there, and and it was just like I fell in love with this piece of land. And I've heard of Anastasia and the books for years because my sister is a very avid gardener, and she kept telling me about the books, but I couldn't find them in English. So, and I took a 10-year period from traveling to Europe. And so I decided, like almost on the spot, that I'm buying this land. And then someone from the community there lent me the first book in Polish. And I inhaled that book within Easter weekend. I basically inhaled the book, and like everybody here that mentioned, shared that, I also kept bursting in tears and could not really but I'm so used to doing that, but it really, I was able to reconnect with something that I've been searching for a long time. And also then I've kept reading the rest of the books, and what I was able to reconnect is my pagan heritage, because there is so much explanation in the books what happened to the native cultures of Europe, that I grew up with knowing only the official version. And so it feels like I am reconnecting with my ancestors and the roots of where I'm coming from. And so I am very blessed that I first met the Ringing Cedars communities in Poland, and I had an opportunity to visit a few settlements there and meet people that are building strong communities. And it's very interesting to see that happening in Poland. And so when I came back to Canada, I felt like almost pulled from something beautiful, and I thought there must be something in North America. And so then I came across this group, and so I'm very fortunate because I kind of now I'm in the process of figuring out how how this, I bought the land, but I don't have a plan yet. So I'm creating the plan, and I'm learning more about, because I'm definitely not a farmer, or no, do I know much about how to cultivate the land and such, but I do have a piece of property. And so I'm very excited.
I love it. Yes, Ivana, thank you for being here. And I think you came on the last call. I'd love to connect more outside and see if there's any way if I can help you or what you might need. Because I'm just passionate about seeing things develop everywhere. So if I can help anything related to Poland, I would love to. So yes, thank you so much for being here. Would love to connect more. Um, love hearing about this. Wow, I actually
Absolutely.
didn't have that reaction of like bursting out in tears at the books, but it's so interesting of like hearing that that's such a common thing. It's very interesting. Um, I mean, I'm not surprised, but it just didn't happen particularly with me. But beautiful. All right. So if
These are
somebody
all the
else wants to
tissues.
go,
I am
These are the
actually,
all the tissues, I love it. Patricia, that's amazing.
Gabriel, I would, yes, it
Yeah.
would be great to connect, but I'm also trying to connect with a key individual in Poland who is basically responsible for Anastasia movement in Poland, at least in a Western Pomeranian part of Poland.
Mhm.
And so I will, I'm hoping to connect both of you, and you will get more information from him.
Beautiful. Yeah, that would be awesome. Anything I can do to help support the movement there, I would love to do, with our kind of large audience around the world and the fact that it's going to be growing substantially once we publish the books in English. I think there's a lot we could do for different regions around the world, so I'd love to help. So that's very exciting. Great.
It is.
Beautiful. All right. The floor is open. It's been great hearing everybody so far.
Can you guys hear me?
Perfectly.
Awesome. I'm Kirsten. I'm from Southwest Washington State in the United States. I've been reading the Ringing Cedars for about a year and a half now, like really slowly. I came across the books
Mm,
by accident actually at a secondhand store. There was a 25-cent book bin, and I just grabbed the book. I think it's the first edition, the green one with all the greenery
yeah,
on the pages. Off
yeah.
of the cover alone. I thought it was pretty, so I got it home and I go, oh, it looks like it's number 4 in a series. And so I get on Google and I'm like, what is this about? And it kind of reminded me a little bit of that Ishmael book with the gorilla. I don't know if anyone's
Uh-huh.
read that. So
Yes.
I thought, oh man, I got to go back to that secondhand store and see if there's. So I found the first 3, and I've been slowly. I just finished book 3 last week. I'm about to start book 4, and then I just recently found that there's a North American community and got pretty excited about that. And the book really resonated with. I've been getting into gardening and been wanting to, do a homestead and working with the land spirits for quite a while. So that book resonated, but it kind of answered a lot of questions, and now there's more questions, and it's been a journey. It's really like the lady before, where she had moments where she was crying. I had probably something similar. It was like, wow, this is like a big missing puzzle piece to what I've been doing, and it's been a journey. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to meeting other people, other readers. Hoping to have a Kin's domain at some point in time. Right now I've got just a little lot that I live on. I've been practicing gardening, and yeah, definitely integrating a lot of what is written in those books into what I've already been doing. It's been amazing.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, congrats on getting through book 3, and you're up for book 4 now, which is
Yep.
gonna change everything.
I'm
Um
excited.
so Yeah, that's a big one. And then what's interesting is a little side story that most people probably don't know, but you guys would find interesting is I go through all of Vladimir Megre's stuff on his website and all the articles and everything. And one of the articles from 2018, he was saying that he had a conversation with grandfather, and grandfather, not great grandfather, but younger grandfather. And grandfather was telling him, go back and read book 4. He's like, go back and read co-creation because he's like, there's a lot you don't understand. He's like, you need to, he's telling the author of the book to go back and read the book that he wrote to you know, and so that's a deep, deep book. And if anybody wants to revisit, the whole series, I'd suggest, but definitely go back and dive back into book 4. Um, Yes, beautiful. And is this your first time talking with other readers, Kirsten? I'm just so curious.
This is my first time. I joined the
Amazing.
website, the kind of Facebook type
The
website, and
community.
connected with the
Yeah,
community, connected with a few other people in Washington, and we chat a little bit. But this is the first time I've done this Zoom call.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so glad you found us.
Looking forward
Beautiful.
to it.
Yeah, this is amazing. I always love hearing that it's like somebody's first time talking with other readers. Like I remember how that felt for me, almost 10 years ago. So it's nice that I'm able to do that for people now. Um, okay.
I'd just like
Anybody
to
else want
say,
to share? Oh,
yeah,
please, Patricia. Yeah, go for it.
I'm not going to hog, although I tend to when I get the opportunity. But regarding co-creation, book 4, one of the things that struck me, and I don't mean this in a judgmental way, but one of the things that struck me about a lot of the discoveries that Megre did in talking with Anastasia, when he said, I don't understand, can you put it more simply or whatever? My impression is that in general, women tend to be much, and please guys, don't don't all pile on me on saying this, but I think we have a greater comprehension of the nuances of the things that Anastasia is talking about from the typical guy, especially in America. But Megre often struck me when I read his response. I thought, oh, come on, man, how can you be so naive? How can you not grasp what she's saying? But then I look at some of the guys that I've worked with through the many years in industry, and I think, well, how many times was I in a work situation, in a business meeting, where I'm thinking to myself, what don't you get? Which part of no don't you understand? Or like, come on, guys, wake up and stop being in your head all the time and be more in the space of the whole project that we're trying to put together. Get the whole picture. Anyway, okay, that was my impression of some of the things. Book 4 is certainly a very powerful book.
Yeah. I have to really be grateful for Vladimir asking Anastasia so many times, can you be more clear? Can you say
Yes,
this more simply? Because he's like, I think he does such an amazing job of representing humanity in a
absolutely.
very like neutral way of like, we don't know what's going on. Can you explain this to us a bit better? Um,
You're
yeah,
totally correct. Yeah, absolutely. She could not have picked a better person to represent her in terms of the actual writer of the book, because I think you're right. Many of the questions he asked are questions that a whole slew of people, not just the guys, but a whole slew of people have no comprehension of.
right.
Those that live in apartments, for instance, here in America, and I worked with many, many people like that living. I'm close to San Diego, and my last position with an IT company, um, and it was very often a situation where I would be asking a question or answering a question because they didn't seem to be grasping the fundamentals again. So Megre was a great choice from that standpoint, and it goes back again to the quantum physics and the connection we all have in the quantum field of how everything is actually known, but at the conscious level, we have no current ability with the truncation of the DNA and everything else that's been going on down the centuries we often, the majority of people, I think, do not have the ability to completely grasp the bigger picture.
Hmm. Yep. I hear you. I hear you. Airzy says in the chat, I used to not think that, Patricia. I used to judge Vladimir, and then I realized over time the incredible miracle of someone with his background and personality being able to hear her at all.
Yes,
Yeah, I feel that. I feel
absolutely.
that. Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's so incredible that I don't know, he's just so uh and I mean this with the most respect because I'm friends with him, but like he was so middle of the road, just like average guy to some degree,
Mhm.
that just represented people to such a high degree, just regular humanity who doesn't not familiar with any of the spiritual stuff at all. Um,
Right.
yeah, he was just like a perfect personified version of it, and very loyal to Anastasia as well, to
Oh,
do what
totally.
she asked him,
Yeah.
to really go through with it. Um, but okay, so I'll ask if there's anybody in the group who wants to introduce themselves, and if not, I think we're starting to get into some interesting conversation here. But I just want to give one last shot to anybody who may want to say hi to the group here.
I'd like to say hi and to say a couple of things, and Gabriel, ask you one question.
Sure.
July
Always
29th.
good to see you, Mark. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, brother. I feel very grateful and honored to be in this group and to be known by you after all you've done for all of us in the world and all of the rest of it. But July 29th was my 5th anniversary of finding and reading the books, but I'm only in my second read of them all in book 7. But eventually I'll get up to more times. But do you, Gabriel, know of any real settlement in the United States, anywhere in the United States? I knew of the veterans one, but that no longer, according to you, seems to really exist. They've moved from
Hmm.
Arizona to Tennessee or whatever. But do you know of
Hmm.
any settlement anywhere in the U.S.?
So, the one thing I know is that there's like you know what you don't know, and then you don't know what you don't know, right? So there's some unknown unknowns, I'm sure, of just people who have not made themselves visible for any reason. Also seems to be a big thing in Russia, just people engaging with the land don't necessarily feel like being on the internet to whatever degree. So I don't know what I don't know. But what I do know is that as far as, even smaller scale settlements, there, to my limited knowledge, doesn't really seem to be any. Larger scale successful settlements, I mean, that's out of the question. And there may be one or two places that call themselves settlements, but it's really just like one or two families and they're not growing. So, I mean, here it's very interesting. There's lots and lots and lots of like individual domains across the United States. I remember even we did some readers gatherings and things in 2016 in New York. And I remember there was a relatively large community of Russian natives who now live here who had read the books in Russian a long time ago, and or some people who read them more recently, and like they all had domains like in upstate New York. But they weren't in a settlement together. They were just like across different areas in upstate New York. And like I've seen other things like that happen in different areas where like people have their own individual domains all over the place, but there isn't really any settlements. And it's kind of interesting. So the one in Arizona, I'm good friends with the guy who was running that, and God bless his heart. He was trying, why it was called Veterans Village, um, is because he was trying to give land, obviously, to veterans to, help them, right? These disenfranchised people to, and give them land and a place and help build a community. But what he found is that because they weren't internally motivated, they didn't read the books necessarily themselves, it wound up not materializing in the way that he intended. He spent like $8 million on that community and equipping it with um, infrastructure, gardens, water, mobile homes, all these things. So the land was sold recently. And actually, he lives in Knoxville, Tennessee now. It's my buddy Bruce Perlwin. He lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, and he just hired a realtor, and they're actively searching for land for a settlement there. And the lesson learned from the community before, without getting into all the details, was that you got to have people who have read the books and really want to live this way and really care about the model, and really want to do it from inside. And you know, if you can bring in veterans and other people like that, I think that's beautiful. But there has to be some level of I want to live this way to make the community as a success. There was a lot of theft, unfortunately, like drug addiction and other unfortunate things that happened, because he was supplying such large amounts of like resources and materials and things that people were stealing stuff, and it was unfortunate, but a lot of lessons learned. But it seems, I don't know, again, to my limited perspective, because there's still so many readers that we haven't reached in the United States. You know, I think once the books are published, um, we will attract the attention of previous readers and new ones and be able to get a better sense of it. It's kind of tough to judge. It's a great question. And then I'm also working on the Kins Domain Settlement Directory. I gave a little preview of it on the Alpha Vedic podcast I was on, but I want to film a little video or something just showing people that. So when settlements do want to make themselves known, there will be a place where people can do that and everyone can see. So we can track the development of these things much more reliably. So I hope that's a suitable answer, but I'm just trying to give you um, the best that I have. I wish I had a better answer. I wish I could say, yes, there's like several large scale successful settlements. I know there's a lot of people looking at and buying land. And it seems like we're at the beginning of a lot of new communities, is what it seems like to me. Seems to be a big thing, but yeah, the settlements that existed before have all generally uh, not been successful in a long-term play. You know, there's always going to be some like margin of error like with these things, but it was pretty high up until now. But I think the next wave is going to be much better. So hope
I
that
think
answers the
that
question.
when it goes to your friend that spent $8 million or so, you know, this highlights once again the old saying, which is so true, especially with children. The more that you give and they have no skin in the game, per se, the less
Yeah.
likely they are to make an effort to develop it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, the very fact that someone has spent, for example, this recent set of books from Ringing Cedars typically was 34, I think, dollars a book, with some of them being even more expensive. Yet on the back of the book, it says 1596 or you know, I mean, at 1596, pretty much anybody could buy it. The higher a book,
Mm-hmm.
particularly a paperback book, gets in price, um, whatever the economic reason is for making the price that way, then fewer people are going to be inclined to buy them. But on the other hand, once you made that kind of investment, like I can't think of a single book I bought recently that didn't actually cost me somewhere around $40 in total, with shipping and everything else. But you have to make a real commitment when you can see other books online for about $15 or whatever, and you have no concept of how much more valuable the 43 or so dollars I spend on these. It's chump change compared to the value I get back from it. But
Yeah.
again, unfortunately, especially in America, we seem to have a lot of people who know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And so the appreciation for what you're getting back in terms of the investment in a book is not apparent to a lot of people. And, you know, we don't end up like the other lady was saying. Was it Martina who said she also had tears in her eyes? No, it was, anyway, the point is you get so emotionally
Ivana?
involved in it. Ivana, right.
Yeah, there was a
You
few.
get
Yeah.
so involved, so emotionally involved in it that it becomes a living objective, a living dream that you can actually bring some flesh to. And the fact that you created the Anastasia Foundation here as a way for us to come together and meet with each other is, I think, an invaluable tool for those that finally do connect and begin to look for connections with other people in similar interests and similar locations.
Yeah. You know, and to your point, there's two things I want to say, and I'll make it brief. The reason for the cost of the books being higher is just because why you see that 15.99 sticker is that was the price of the books when they were printed. So the last time they were printed, that book that you have in your hand was probably like 10 years ago. And I actually, I've become very good friends with the previous publisher of the books. And we've talked a lot. And yeah, so she told me that that was the last time that they printed the books. And I have been planning to sell them for 19.99 each book when we republish them, just to keep the price as low as possible. But also, when I got into the books, they were like, yeah, $16 each. So adjusting with inflation, it brings it to like $19 now. And she said that's the price that she would sell them at if she was continuing. So that's what I'm going to do. And then there's going to be volume discounts and set discounts and all that stuff. So drive the costs down as much as possible, supply and demand. And then with back kind of to the question about settlements and what you just said about connecting people through the foundation. I do think that a fundamental reason why more hasn't happened in the movement before, especially like in the last decade, was the fact that people who read the books didn't necessarily have efficient ways of connecting and communicating. So like it was still pretty hard to find other Ringing Cedars readers, like especially when I got into this like 10 years ago, it was literally impossible. Like it was literally impossible for that. I went like 8 or 9 months without meeting another reader. And I know many people have gone much longer, but I had to literally create the communication channels to actually get in touch with other people. And so yeah, I can imagine why there not being more settlements, but the books having been published so long ago, I think there was just an infrastructure and communication problem, which is what I'm aiming to solve.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So yep. And Mark, I see you got your hand up, please.
Yeah, Gabriel, when you say she, we're not talking about Sharashkin here. Who is she?
Yeah, so Leonid Sharashkin hired a company that was called Moving Books, and it is the people behind the Ringing Cedars Press, right? So he hired them to help market the books. If you look on the Internet Archive on like ringingcedars.com or whatever, you'll see 2004, 2005, 2006. The website was well, it was not very pretty. And Leonid was selling the books on his own, and he was marketing and selling the books on his own. Then he hired this company. It was a husband and wife couple, a husband named Bruce. The husband's name was Bruce, and the wife, Valerie. And Bruce, unfortunately, passed away in late 2022, right after I had started to get in direct contact with him. And he was very, very happy. If anybody's seen in the Telegram chat where he posted in our Telegram group before and was giving praise for everything that was happening. And he said, what we're doing is something that was needed for a long time. He was a very good man, very, very good man. He passed away. But his wife, Valerie, is the one who was, still around and is the one who was, running the Ringing Cedars stuff in America. He was doing it in Australia. So if anybody remembers, there was a Australian Ringing Cedars website where you could get the books, and then ringingcedars.com here in the United States. So Valerie's the one who was running ringingcedars.com, and she's a really, really lovely woman. I love her a lot. Very good person, and we've become very good friends. So
So it's Valerie Coyle.
yep, that's her.
I have an ancient email from her explaining
Yeah.
the fact that the only difference between edition 1 and 2 is volume 1.
Yep,
Very
Yep.
cool. Thank you.
that's her. Awesome. Tim, I see you got your hand up, brother. Go for it.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, doing good.
Thanks for hosting. I'm actually having a thunderstorm here, and I've already got kicked out of the call once because we're losing power. So if I got booted, that's what happens. So I'll be quick.
It happens to me, man.
Yeah. We're up in Vermont, my wife and my kids, and I came across the books about 5 years ago and kind of like dipped in and out of them and read a chapter here or there, but really resonated with a lot of this stuff. And then I recently kind of came back into them, and I saw you, Gabriel, on the Alpha Vedic podcast. And so I went to the website, signed
Was
up.
that the one like last week or something?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I got the email that, hey, we're doing a monthly call. So I said, fantastic. I'll join up and see what's going on. My wife and I were in the corporate world for a while, and we were always kind of like, how do we make enough money to get out of here and do something that we really want to do? So we, lived in big cities and all that sort of stuff, and then bailed out, moved to Vermont like 10 years ago. And we do have some land, and we've been, she's really good at gardening and loves to grow food. And we've, developed a community of sorts of, homesteaders. And the whole Northeast, I mean, you mentioned New York, but the whole Northeast, there's a lot of small homesteaders and small farms and people that they don't even consider themselves, that's just what they do, is they all have gardens. And so it's really interesting, but probably like many that are drawn to these books is the just the idea of how do we organize and a lot of people aren't comfortable with this existing world, the technocracy and everything we see at a young age. I mean, both my wife and I share different stories about it being very young and just not really understanding why people treated each other this way, this pursuit of power and money and, all that sort of stuff. And, but really didn't have how do we get out of it, or what can we do? And so I've always been looking at like intentional communities and groups and how they organize, and some fail, some succeed, and even where we are, it was really interesting during the COVID stuff, where in some ways it kind of got people to kind of react together and go, oh, okay, we're having supply chain disruptions. And so I helped organize a fairly large community, actually, of people that would meet pretty regularly in person and exchange knowledge as well as food and things like that. And but again, like, what's the common ideology, and what can you kind of rally around to kind of grow and support each other, have common resources. And so that's always been where I've tried to spend my time over the last 10 years is studying them, as well as then trying to jump in and help contribute in any way I can. So we're kind of in a transition now. I'm helping my parents downsize, and I've got a lot of family in Michigan. My folks are moving out to Michigan. So I'm going to be back and forth out there. I know there's somebody from Michigan on the call. So at some point I'll try to connect with that person. But anyway, thanks for hosting everything, and glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. It's great to hear everything that you're sharing here, and glad that you found us after that interview. It always makes me real happy to know that those interviews have a tangible impact like that, and would love to hear more about what you're working on in Vermont. If there's any way that I or anyone on the team can support, would love to hear more about that for sure. And yeah, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, we can definitely connect. I can give you my experience and what I've seen or what we got going on, and
Yeah.
for sure.
Are you on Telegram? If anybody wants to connect with me, I'm very active on Telegram. That's the best place to get me. So I just put my Telegram account there in the in the chat. So if anybody wants to message me, that's the best way. That's the best way to catch me. I'm hard to get on the other platforms.
Yeah, I did join the Telegram, so I'll try to hit you up there.
Beautiful, brother. Awesome. Awesome. And so Martine actually shares a very interesting point. And I think this may be something that's worth discussing. I have some things that could be shared on the point, but she says here in the chat, so what are the best ways now to make ourselves known as possible collaborators in creating a domain? So like a settlement, I assume. I have many valuable community building skills, and my daughter has awesome garden wisdom and skills and two fine grown grandsons. Beautiful. Might like to contribute muscle and various skills. One is an EMT. We could go anywhere. Yeah. This is a great question. So first of all, I'd say our different online communities, sharing there, whether that's Telegram, whether that's our Facebook group, it's like 5,500 people. I think, and the Ringing Cedars community platform as well, just posting on there and making things known. So one thing I want to say is that these tools that help support the development of settlements and like infrastructure and connection are things that I'm trying to build out over time, like more deeply. So if anyone has feedback, I've done the best that I can so far with the resources and time and skills that I have. But if anyone has feedback on ways that you guys think, connections could happen better, I'm definitely open to it. And one thing, I talk about it all the time. I'd love to just screen share. Maybe some other people can talk while I screen share about this. Is I want to show you guys the Kins domain directory that I've been working on, which I think would be a huge piece in this puzzle here. So I'm just going to pull it up on screen share. And yeah, I think this is a very interesting topic here, but let me just pull this up. It's going to take me a second to share my screen. 1 minute here. Portion of my screen share, and then I gotta go here. Okay, great, beautiful. You guys are about to see a bunch of my hard work for like the last, I don't know, 10 months, something. There is likely going to be a large delay between my voice and the screen itself moving, so I apologize about that. But this is a tool that I've created to help with the development of settlements. I've been talking about it a lot, haven't really shown it. Gonna make a video featuring this more, but I'm a web designer by trade, so I custom built this entire thing from scratch. People can basically, you can have a map of settlements around the world here. You can browse through them. People can list their settlements and all this. You can see images of different settlements and descriptions, and you can click and view on the listings and stuff here. And so this is something I hope to launch within the next couple months. I keep saying that, I feel like, but it's this has been a beast of a project, but it's something that's going to launch soon. So pretty much people can make an account. If they have a settlement, they can list it. And I'm not sure if there is a delay right now while I'm sharing this, but currently I'm on a page showing one of like the settlements itself. And there's a gallery of photos, so people can go through all the photos of different settlements, and you can see all of their contact information, descriptions of the settlement. There's forms to contact these settlements directly, and all of the details that you'd want to know about a different settlement. So land features, membership process and requirements, existing infrastructure, leadership structure, location, right, with the Google map and all this stuff. And then settlements will also be able to post articles and share news and updates as things go along. So hopefully this platform will serve to help spur things along. I think it will work very well. It's very fast and built very well. But that's my contribution to this. And something that I want to say is that I'm always open and I'm constantly thinking of what are better ways for people to connect, what are more efficient ways for people to connect. I'm constantly dissatisfied with what we have. And I'm very open to ideas on all these things, and I think it's a great topic. So I hope that was interesting for you guys. But I hope to launch that soon. And one thing that's gonna launch in conjunction with that in order to help the development of settlements is a private settlement founders group. So if anybody is actually the founder of a settlement, there's going to be an international group of founders and leaders who can come together to support each other, share ideas, and connect, right? So not only will we be able to publicly see all the different settlements existing mainly outside of Russia, but you'll also be able to directly connect with the other leaders and founders. And so I think these kinds of things will help a lot. But you know, this is what I'm working on. So yeah, very interested to hear what anybody might think or have to share about these things.
Yeah,
Sorry if
that's
I
great.
feel like I'm taking too much space talking about
No,
it, but wanted to share.
thanks. Quick question for you would be, did you mention that this would include the existing settlements in Russia at this point?
So that's kind of a toss up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things about this is that I've studied all of the different settlement listing platforms in Russia, and wow, they're not that great, to tell you. And due to the poor usability of those websites, I think less people submit information. So I think the count of settlements that they have is far less than what exists because the websites are not attractive or usable. So that's kind of an issue. But I imagine that some of the Russian settlements will want to have themselves listed on here. And if they do, I guess I'm not going to fight it, but I'm not going to promote the platform directly to them. But we'll see. The site's got translation and stuff built in. It can translate into a bunch of languages in one click. So I'd imagine that people will probably do that.
And
Won't
then,
fight it if it happens.
yeah, I hope so. It'd be nice to see some in there that perhaps we can even then, like you said, dialogue with and maybe at
Yeah.
some point to visit or something like that. But my other question would
You
be,
know, I'm sure some of my friends' settlements will want to be listed because we're friends with a bunch of like settlements there. I'm sure that they'll want to list themselves. So yeah, I guess it's an inevitability. I don't know why I'm kidding myself about it. All right.
um, the other question would be, you posted like Vladimir's name there. Does he actually, him and his family, do they live in a settlement? Do they have a settlement?
So he has a domain on a relatively large settlement in Russia. Um, and so he doesn't live there, but he's seemingly like transitioning more and more into that. But yeah, I just picked a random person's name on there. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So yeah, thank you guys. I'm glad to hear that there's good feedback about it, you know, because this is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, being able to provide better communication infrastructure. Sometimes I feel like what we have in place isn't sufficient, although it's good and it serves its purpose, but like I'd love to do things better if I can. I have plans for that. But anyway, if anybody ever has ideas, please uh, email us because I'm always open, or
Gabriel,
telegram me.
Gabriel,
Yep.
would you be willing to assign a window of time, like, somewhere between 6 months and 3 years or whatever, to when you think you'll be able to actually publish the books?
Yeah, I it's a tough thing. Why the time frame has not been clear is way out of my hands, has nothing to do with me, much more to do with the pre-existing issues between um you know, it was mainly Leonid Shurashkin and Vladimir. And so solving those things and all the legal mumbo jumbo has put some delays on things. So all I can say is that once things start moving forward, I'd imagine we're going to be publishing books at a rate of one book every 2 to 4 months, roughly, or even 1 to 4 months, depending on some other factors. So however long that takes, however long that takes for each book. Yeah, so tough to say. But I expect to have some good progress from Vladimir um in the next month or two. A lot of things are moving forward. But yeah, I know it's not the clearest answer. I don't really have much more clarity on it myself, and I wish I did. But all I can say is that for anyone who's interested, is if anyone is aware of the previous disputes between these different parties, there's never been more harmony related to these things than there is now. Solving the disputes between, the old publisher and Vladimir and all this stuff. If anyone's interested, things are going forward in a tremendously harmonious way. That's all I want to say. It's very, very good. So the time being taken is well, miraculous things are happening and it's going really, really, really well, is all I can say. But as soon as I'm able to share more, I will. I'm sorry for sounding mysterious and like I'm hiding stuff, and I feel like I'm weird when I talk like this, but it's the most I can say right now. Okay. I don't want to take up all the time. I feel like I'm in the center here. But I guess if you guys have questions for me, I'm happy to answer if this is interesting for you. But I'd love for people to connect more. Brad, thank you for the compliment there. Um, yes, thank you all for the positive compliments. Very happy to hear that this all looks good. Um,
Absolutely. You make a marvelous master of ceremonies, Gabriel. So no, really, you're doing a masterful job of managing all this. I think not only as we've already various people have said thank you for doing this, but actually clearly your experience in using Zoom is rubbing off here, and your experience doing podcasts. So far, I found it fascinating listening to everybody else, and I know I put in more my share of comments, but my reason for doing this is because I want to encourage more people to share what they have to say. Neither you nor I want to hog the show, but on the other hand, we don't want dead pauses. And a lot of people are very fearful of being in front of the camera. There's probably a bunch of people that haven't even got a camera on. So I just would love to encourage everybody, seriously. I'd love to encourage everybody. This is a private group. We're not in a position to hold people's feet to the fire, but we want to hear from everybody. This is the whole idea of having a Zoom. Zoom is beautiful. In fact, I think it's one of the best platforms that have come about in recent years. Never liked Skype for that matter. But anyway, okay, I'll shut up. Come on, people, let's hear from you.
So I would like to ask a question, and because
Please.
there is a lot of conversation about creating the domains and getting into working with the land, and it is a very romantic idea, and it's we are all want to be there, but when the push comes to shove, and two people get together and are dealing with building something new, a lot of emotions and a lot of stuff is coming up. And so what I've been very fascinated about Anastasia's sharing is that connection to who we are and connection to each other. And when I am just filtering this information from her, the wisdom, I cannot help but think about my leadership background. And I'm recognizing that if we want to build settlements, if we want to build different communities, there is a lot that we need to unlearn. And there is so much that each individual needs to know about themselves. So self-awareness and ability to self-regulate is crucial. And is there, or are there actually any conversations or anywhere that I could go to find what is being done, if there is a work that's being done on preparing us on how are we going to then function within the settlement, and when the dirty and then the ugly starts bubbling up, how is that working?
I completely hear you and agree entirely. So one thing, Anastasia is always saying that everything begins inside of us, right? Just physically putting a person on the land doesn't immediately make them a saint, right? So right, that's one thing. So always learning and purifying ourselves and getting better within ourselves. And that's why I love she shares all these stories about people getting ready for living on their domain before they get there. Like the story of that girl, Sonia, in book 7. She spends all this time reading and preparing before she ever gets there. And I definitely think it's very important. We have the Russia America Exchange series aims to kind of address this. So if you look on our YouTube channel, we do a series of interviews with successful kins domain settlements from Russia. The last one we did is a like 23-year-old settlement with several hundred people living there, and we try to hear from them about how they handle things and people's real lived experiences, right? That's definitely something that I'm trying to do. So we do those every like month and a half, every 2 months. They're live Q&A, free online Q&A events with these settlement founders. And then, there's only so much that like we specifically can do, but I guess I'll share about another project that I haven't shared at all that aims to address this specific problem. So I'm working on a book that we're going to publish through the foundation. The tentative title is Building the New Civilization, a Guide to Successful Kins Domain Settlement Creation. And essentially what I'm doing is interviewing different successful settlement founders across Russia that we're friends with, and hearing about how they've done things, their stories. What was it like when they arrived to the land? How did they start building their individual domains in their community? What are their stories? Collecting their stories. I have a standardized set of questions that I ask everyone. I've already conducted several interviews, and this is already underway. But pretty much each chapter of the book will be the stories and answers to all of the questions from one person or a couple, like a literal couple. And so publishing the first volume of that book is going to focus on the like genesis phase of people getting to the land and transitioning to their life on their land and building their settlement. The beginning phase, which is truthfully, as I've heard from many of our friends, kind of the most difficult, the transition phase from previous life to that life. There's a million ways it can be navigated, and many different approaches. It just depends on the person. But you're right, like self-awareness. I've seen when I went to Russia in 2016 that there are real repercussions of people who are too idealistic and move there too quickly, and especially if they have a family. And especially if the family isn't on board or fully ready to live that way, it can be very jarring, and that even lead to separations and things. And I literally saw it happen like with my own eyes. And so I think there's a lot of wisdom in what Anastasia says in not rushing. you know, letting ourselves take the time that's needed. Don't be too hasty, think about everything. And you know, I would say people reread the books and take that message a bit deeper of don't rush, be prepared, think it all through, take your time and don't pressure yourself either. You know, I'm almost 10 years into having read the books and I don't I don't own a piece of land yet or anything like that. So I'm not pressed, you know, I will, and it's not a big deal. So whatever, it'll happen at the right time. And I hope that's an interesting or at least somewhat useful answer to the question. But I think it's a very good question, and I'd love to let others jump in here.
Thank you.
Martine, I saw you have your hand up. Please go for it.
So a couple of things. One, I've been a member of the Foundational for Intentional Community, FIC, for many decades. There is a series of books. They have decades of rich knowledge that they've collected in a series of books about building community that are very, very valuable. They have people who are available to train and work with people who are starting a community to help them create with the knowledge, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel on the whole thing. They have sociocracy courses, for example, one of which I took, which was great. I'd like to take it again, which gives a governance procedure, a way to avoid one of the pitfalls of early communities is endless meetings and trying to do consensus, and the many different possibilities now for governance procedures. There's just a rich treasure trove of knowledge available through their website. The other thing is, many decades ago, I embraced and took training in conflict resolution in every direction that I could find, and mainly in the last few decades, nonviolent communication from Marshall Rosenberg, because you've got to have viable ways to work through conflict. And the great thing about NVC is if the community embraces that, people will be able to, when these old wounds come up or their ancient family of history conflicts get projected on each other, all the other psychological stuff that happened. The NVC is so powerful in giving a framework and helping to develop a consciousness to be able to work through those conflicts. And many, many communities and eco-villages and intentional communities around the world now have embraced this. In fact, a few years ago, I read that on the list of 10 things most important for developing an eco-village in the International Eco-Village Network, they listed NVC as number one. And Deepak Chopra has called it the missing link. So being able to solve conflict and really take a look at the FIC website for those books and the people who offer training and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that that's something that for me feels like I need to keep at the front of my attention when I am moving forward to live in a settlement, and the self-awareness and the ability for me to recognize my own BS, which is belief system, and where I am, what is driving me is very important, because I think, Gabriel, you said it's like slowing down, and that goes so against what how we are living today, right? We want instant results. We want that microwave solution. And so I think that it is crucial to constantly keep checking with oneself and learning how to sit in stillness, how to sit with the discomfort instead of pushing it away, and tapping into where all these unwanted or uncomfortable emotions are coming from before we actually move into communicating and relating to others.
Totally.
I can say one other thing. You can be very good at doing all that, but you've still inherited a habitual language we all inherited that's deeply embedded with authoritarian, patriarchal domination assumptions, and it comes out in the language without us being aware of it. And that's again where NVC comes in. It gives us the ability to start become aware when we're doing that and what other choices we may be able to make. And so it's like a revelation to have a different language to work with. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, really addressing every word and paying attention to what it said and why we are using what we are using, rather than reframing perhaps to not to create unnecessary assumptions.
Right. Certainly. Yeah, I think everyone, you know, myself included, would benefit from realizing and taking more deeply the idea that not just arriving at a physical place is what's going to do it and make us better and happy and perfect. Because I mean, even when I went to Russia, like, it was kind of funny. There was uh some women who lived in the settlement, you know, on domains not too far from each other, like, you know, they've got some little gossiping stuff going on, and there's a little bit of settlement drama happening between the domain neighbors and things. And it's, you know, I think one part of that, obviously getting into like forming a community, is vetting, you know, vetting and bringing in people in the most intentional way. But things are going to happen, and how are we going to handle it, right? Are we going to respond with love and understanding and temper all these things down? Like, I was just thinking about this today, thinking about how Anastasia reacts to everybody, not just Vladimir, but like in book 3, the people when they shot at her, right? And she goes to one of those mercenaries and she said, "You were taken over by instinct. It's not good when instinct takes over man." Right? And she's not even like, she's not mad at him. She's like, "I understand exactly where you're coming from," but she's like, "You need to return to your soul." And I was like, wow, how can I not judge people, but see when they act out in ways that are harmful, to not like judge them, but to, how does God view us? You know, he sees what we do, but he doesn't get like righteously mad at us, like, "You're horrible," and condemn us, right? He like understands us and he loves us, and he tries to encourage the best part of us. And I'm like, wow, Anastasia is such a good example of that, you know? So anyway, just there's a lot there. It's a giant topic, and I love how this discussion's going.
I like Anastasia often says, before you go and buy a land, you go and clean up the life around you, right? Clean up where you live.
City.
And for me, I also feel like that is the external, but it's, let's clean up my own stuff, that it's within me as much as I can, right? So that's how I can prepare myself to live in a completely different structures.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for the discussion.
Yeah.
And
I think about it too, like my service for cleaning up the city is what I'm doing here. You know, I'm not physically doing it specifically in a city location, but this is my atonement. This is the form that it's taken. Anyway, Brian, I saw that you were going to share.
Yeah.
Please do.
Talk about cleaning up. I've inherited 2 or 3 generations of stuff, artifacts from back in the day, and you know, it's like, I think it's useful to be kept somewhere, but who wants to keep it? And I'm not moving quickly into a settlement sort of community, because I do have all of this stuff that needs a bit of a home. Now there's a little bit of it that could be useful for the community, like the old tools that don't need electricity, that my grandfather, you know, used. He could drill a hole in the concrete with a hammer and a special, you know, drill chisel thing. And also, having been a librarian for 37 years, I save stuff naturally. And that doesn't help the system. And so, but you know, I inherited a can full of nuts and bolts and screws, you know, a big coffee can, right? So here I go sorting them out, and I've got them all in little drawers by size, so you don't need to go to the hardware store. So some of that stuff could be useful in an off-grid environment, but yeah, there's just a lot of processing to do, and then and I'm spending a lot of time trying to get rid of my own junk before I do try to join into a group situation. So, you know, which one gets the most attention? I wanted to mention, I think I've been on a call with Wyatt in the past a couple of times. Is this the same sort of call? Right. So yeah, I've enjoyed those calls, and but this is a whole new wonderful group, and I'm glad to be here. I'm in Southern
Thank you,
California.
brother.
I'm in Southern California right now, and I actually am getting quite warm these days here. It's 100 degrees once in a while. But,
Whereabouts in Southern California?
I'm in Claremont. Actually, I'm in Upland, which is right next door to Claremont. I worked in Upland. I worked in Claremont for years.
So I'm
that's
just north of San Diego.
And you're down at the southern part of Southern California.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so Vlad, who's on our call here, I'm sorry, but this is I just want to share some good information for the Southern Californians here. Vlad, who's on our call here, he is our Southern California regional ambassador. And so he hosts events and things in Southern California, and he is going to be doing like a monthly meetup. So you guys, Vlad knows the you know, cities and geography and stuff better than I do. But Vlad, if you're here, he can probably share more about that. But yeah, there's going to be a monthly Ringing Cedars book club in SoCal. It's going to be in person.
Just a book club? No, not
It's like a meetup, you know, like a meetup group. Yeah, readers group.
Well, I and a friend met at Orcut, where I think it's the same Vladdy. Maybe not. Maybe not.
That's him. That's him.
Okay.
That's him.
Yeah, his wife.
I don't know if he's here listening right now. It looks like he's on mute, but yeah, that's him.
I didn't know
his wife, Anastasia.
Okay, no, it was a great meeting. It was just the three of us, but the last Sunday, of course, from me, it's like an hour and a half across Southern California, depending on traffic to get to it, but it was worth it, and I'm going to do it again. So
beautiful. Yeah, that's forming. So he just told me recently that he's gonna start doing a monthly. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, Rob, welcome. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too. I just wanted to say hi here. I'm gonna have to get back to watering my Anastasia garden in a minute before I lose sunlight here. So I just wanted to get on and say hi to everyone. I've been involved with the books for about 6 months now. And you know, I pretty much live on a kin's domain. By happenstance did I develop it. So while I'm reading the book, I'm just thinking, oh my God, this is describing my home, you know? So anyways, it's 13 acres, a little bigger, but I do plan on subdividing it. So I'm working on that right now. The shape of the land, the layout, it's mostly forest. So I got like 2.5 acres developed right now with gardens and ponds and stuff like that. But I just been thinking of different ways to continue the development, I guess. So there's enough room for, I think, 5 more domains.
Amazing.
Getting it legalized. I'm gonna put it in my Native American church. I got a chapter of the Native American church. We're gonna try and put it in that, and then do maybe some sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's just a prototype to begin with, you know what I mean? Just something people can come and visit and see what it's like, or see if they'd even want to get involved in something like this. But yeah, I love the books. I love being in these meetings, and I got to get back to work now. So it's one thing I can tell you is it's a lot of work keeping a king's domain. I mean, there's never a dull moment. Got the animals, and in Michigan, we're seasonal. So I want to say hi to Tim too, because he mentioned something about Michigan, and it's seasonal. So you got to do a lot of your work in the summer to get enough food for the winter. I mean, there's just, depending on the layout of your property, where you're at, your growing seasons, there's tweaks that have to be done, you know, to I'm sure to each domain group. So it's been interesting, and I can't wait for your website to get up, because I was trying to think of how can I show people my domain, and I'm gonna make a video eventually, something like that. But you know, I want to say hi to everybody, and it's great being here, and I'd love to connect more. And guys, all have a wonderful night.
Hey Rob, before you sign
Yeah,
off,
enjoy the Anastasia garden.
how can I get in touch with you? Are you in the Telegram group, or where can I find your info?
I got to get in there. The crazy thing is I do work a day job too, you know, so I do all this, and it takes up every ounce of my time I have. I do have my life partner, and I listened to them younger ladies earlier talking about finding their partner. All I can say is be patient. They're out there, they're on their way, you know, and they're preparing themselves for you right now. So I got a Facebook page, Rob Lapine, my name. You could get with me there, and I could leave my email, I guess, in the chat. Anybody that wants to contact me, ask questions. You know, we kind of know some of the do's and don'ts, at least in our domain, and some of the things that work and don't work. But yeah, this is the first year I actually did the Anastasia garden, where I held the seeds under my tongue, and we've been doing it according to the best we can, you know, with our situation we have here. But I've been doing it as close as possible, so I get some of my food this year, gets to be my medicine, so that's going to be exciting. But
have you eaten any of it yet, or not yet?
No,
sounds like
it was kind of late, because you know I didn't.
Yep.
By the time I got my regular garden in to feed me, myself and my partner and the other people that we feed, I didn't have enough time. So we did film kind of doing it, like how we did it, holding it under our tongue, you know, some of the different things we did during the process. And then I'm dumping my pond water over my body after I work, and water in my garden.
I love it.
You know, with my DNA pretty much. So, you know, you'll be able to possibly see it in the future if I can put it all together into a. Yeah, so it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. So we got some tomatoes and string beans and peppers and some different things we put in our little Anastasia gardens. And my partner did hers, and then I did mine in a section. So, you know, it's the first time. I will put my
I'm
email
excited
in
to
there,
connect
so
more. You know, if I can help more with what you're developing in Michigan, you know, I would highly suggest getting on Telegram, because there's so many people there and it's so easy to connect. Just throwing it out there, no pressure, but always glad to have you, brother.
Yeah, I thank you, and it's great talking to everybody and listening to you. And we'll hook up, Tim. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
Love it.
Thanks.
See, that's what I'm saying, guys. The community connection calls, you know, we see it happen right here. That's why I love having everyone share the location. I remember one of the stories from our Russia America exchange series is Svetlana, who helps me host the series and coordinate all those. There was a guy who joined the event as an attendee, and he saw Svetlana talking, and they started communicating outside of the event. And I'm telling a very abridged version of the story, but they fell in love, and now they have a family and children, and they live in Russia together. And it all happened from a Zoom call, you know, and these kinds of things really happen. It's very beautiful. So we've got a few Anastasia Foundation babies and families, you know, under our belt. These are my biggest success stories. But okay, Rob put his email there in the chat. I love it. And Julia, I saw you had your hand up for quite a while, so I appreciate your patience with that. Please feel free to share.
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
You can. Oh, thank you. So hello, I'm Julia. I'm in the UK, and it's past midnight here, so it's quite late.
I respect the dedication.
Can't hear her.
If it's possible to turn your volume up.
Yes.
Yep,
Is that better?
that is better.
I didn't hear. I can barely hear. Could you get closer to your microphone?
I'm trying to be quiet. I've got children in bed, so I'm sorry. It's very late here.
Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
You're good. Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
you're good. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, this is the first time I've been on one of these calls. I've been reading the books for about 3 years, and I started to write a curriculum about a year ago. So I have 4 children. I've got 4 daughters, and I've got 2 who are one's 18 and one's 16, and then I've got an 18-month-old and a 3-year-old. And I had home educated my older children very successfully, and that was before I'd read the books. And I wanted to do something a bit better for my other children based on the things I'd learned from the Ringing Cedars books. I've been busy because I also really adhere to the thinking in the books about children and not allowing strangers to look after my children. I don't like that. I don't judge that, but I don't want to do that. So I don't get much time to think, actually. But do you know who Greg Braden is?
I do.
I was in touch with Greg Braden about the curriculum, and he actually miraculously agreed to help me with it. And I met him when he was in the UK last October, sorry. And my curriculum wasn't developed enough for me to tell him exactly what I wanted him to do. But I was studying with a professor who was a medical doctor, but he also was he was a private practitioner, very much to do with holistic. He was very educated with holistic medicine and natural medicine. And he was also helping me with the curriculum, but he actually just suddenly passed away in December. So I lost some of that support. But I had, sorry to go on. It's difficult to articulate, especially at this time of
Please.
night.
Don't worry.
What I want to do, the curriculum is mainly incorporating higher consciousness and independence. And I would like to include kin's domain, information about kin's domain, how to live, you know, in a whole way, wholesome way. But after thinking about it, because the curriculum's vast, it includes lots and lots of other things, which resonate with the Ringing Cedars books. But what I was thinking was, if I wrote a curriculum like that, it would only target a non-mainstream group, because you have to be thinking in that kind of aligned way in order to take that on in the first place. But what I thought was, after a lot of consideration, was, could there be a way to implement something into the mainstream education system, you know, sort of sneak it in, that didn't mention the things that people can't cope with? You know, if you were to write something that you could introduce to schools, going in with something like the space of love, it probably wouldn't work, because to a mainstream population, because a lot of people can't accept that yet. And I think if it were to be written in a way just to target mainstream populations initially, which was basically like talking about how to save the planet, how to do things, how to look at things, how to plan things in an ecological way, in a way that was respectful to the planet, but without talking about that other stuff initially. Just to plant that idea in people's heads. And I thought, if something could be introduced, okay, just in the UK, into the school system, which was just like a workshop, where
Mhm.
that influence, say you were targeting 20 million children, and that influenced even 0.5% of those children, it planted that seed into their mind, and
Yeah.
stayed with them, then that's a huge deal.
Hmm.
That could yeah, but I'm still developing that at the moment, and I'm still working on that.
Hmm.
But that's where I am. I do plan. I have a 5-year plan, so I need to get my older daughter through university, and then once I've done that, I'd like to start creating my own domain. But I contacted, do you know, well, you will know, Paulina Megre's site, and I was
Hmm.
dealt with by a lady called Yulia. Do you know who I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, and she,
Is it Yulia, Vladimir's assistant?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
remember her surname,
She
but I
speaks she
asked.
speaks English. She does a lot of the emails there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I asked if I
Yeah.
would be able to create an online course um, with basically for families. So just to sort of put my toe in the water with for families or families of who home educate, to do a small course with designing a kin's domain, on a small scale.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
asked if that would be
Hmm.
possible and if I could reference the books, and she said she would be quite happy for me to do that. And I said that I would
Hmm.
draft everything and send it to her before I published any online course.
Yeah.
But
So
sorry to
a
waffle on
couple
with that.
things. No, you're good, Julia. This is great, and I'm excited to hear about what you're working on. So one thing, I shared a link in the chat. We have a burgeoning UK Telegram group, and I think they've done some meetups and stuff already.
In the
So
UK?
and then yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So if you scroll through the chat here,
yes.
there's like 44 members in the group, but it's pretty active and it's a lovely group of people. So I put the link here. You'll see United Kingdom Ringing Cedars. So that's there. I would invite you to join that because definitely a lot more people. And then Monty just said he's in London, who's
Oh,
here on the call with us. And he said he's a qualified teacher, not practicing at the moment. He put his email here.
oh,
So that's
thank you.
another amazing connection here. And then one resource which might be interesting to you is I did a presentation on Anastasia's philosophy on education for an online like education and homeschooling summit event that I was a part of. So I took everything that she said about education and condensed it into like a 1 hour presentation as effectively as I could. The one
Wow.
thing that isn't included is the huge topic of how the Vede Rus culture and lifestyle itself was a continuous system of education with the festivals and all of the rites and everything that the children were partaking in. That was too big of a subject to approach in such a short time. But that may be a useful resource, and I can share the PDF of that presentation. You can see the slides. But honestly, your question here of reaching children is one that's really dear to my heart because I I've had some ideas about this too, and my idea is that I come from, I come from a really poor place, and a lot of my family is really, really poor and didn't grow up in a good environment at all in the inner city. And there's a lot of anyway, without getting too much into my story, I have a really deep resonance with kids from the inner city who are not really people don't really pay any attention to them at all. And it really bothers me. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do, because children across the board have so much potential, doesn't matter where they're located, and they're all so beautiful and all so bright if they have the right encouragement and experiences and resources available. And so once wherever I form the settlement that I'm going to be living in, I want to create a program where we can bus in kids from the inner cities and show them the settlement, you know, and all age ranges, kindergartners to high schoolers and, you know, maybe even college kids, but to literally show them, because like, how much of this, and this is just my thinking, right? How much of this am I going to be able to get into directly into a school? I don't know. But if I say I will take your kids on a tour through a beautiful, like, you know, garden community and show them something, and, you know, maybe foot the bill for it or get grants for it, pay for it myself or have somebody grant us the money, an experiential thing, because I picture a 6-year-old walking through the settlement and seeing the flowers and the happy faces and the families. That will do something to them that words can't do. You know,
Right.
they'll say, I saw something that I can never forget, and it touched me in a way that I will never forget. And even I look at myself, if I was back 15 years old again and somebody took me to a place like that, how that would have changed me, you know? And so that's an idea that has been really near and dear to my heart for a long time. And I definitely will do once the time is done, once the time comes to be able to do that. But, you know, that may be something to consider, like even if there's a couple people living on some domains or just one family, you know, just one family, like just showing them what this place is like, you know, what is this place about? And then also tying it in, because there's these different environmental agendas like reforestation and social and economic things. So you can play to the practical benefits of domains and settlements, of saying like each family, for example, plants an average of 400 trees for the living fence. So then you have large scale reforestation happening for a very low budget uh, across the nation once the idea gets adopted, right? You know, you get 100 families in a settlement, each one plants 400 trees just for the living hedge. So, you know, that's something. And then all the bushes and flowers and stuff. And you can frame that in a way where it's more appealing to some of the like ideology of like you know, more mainstream things, solving the social, economic, and you know, maybe you can start to put your feet in the spiritual problems as well. But those are just some thoughts on it. I think it's great being able to reach the children. Um, yeah, my take on it is experiential. Bring them to the place, show them the lifestyle. So anyway, I see we got a lot of comments and stuff here in the
Thank you.
chat.
Thank you
Yeah.
for this as well,
Yes.
for the hosting, I mean.
Oh, of course. And Monty, I see you got your hand up. If you want to share it, please feel free.
Thanks. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We hear you perfect.
Oh, great. I wasn't sure about this computer, but thank you to Gabriel and everyone for being here. Appreciate this this time. I haven't actually read any of the Ringing Cedars. I heard about them some time ago, possibly the first Alpha Vedic podcast, maybe. I've definitely
Yeah, it
heard
was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, maybe. I've tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, I'm kind of living the lifestyle more than, and I'm resonating very powerfully with what you mentioned in your talk about that connection, that relationship with the land. And somehow to me, it feels like if you're coming from that space, these problems with living in a community don't seem to be that big a deal. I think the community issues may be. I think Martine was coming from the conscious community kind of dimension. And previously, before the Anastasia realization has appeared for this perspective, the feeling was that communities are kind of bogged down with attachment. So your friend that had that money invested in the project, that's all a huge investment on his part. And okay, he's coming from a really special place through the Anastasia ideas. But elsewhere in other communities, that might not be the case. I spent some time last summer looking at communities in Wales, and they all seem to have their issues. There's all difficulties, etc. And so for me personally, I have very few means, and what I thought of was to go to, actually, before the Anastasia thing, although subconsciously maybe it was there from an earlier time, but I thought of going to Russia itself, just because the land is so cheap there. And once you've got the land, everyone can have their own land, and you could be neighbors. And so I was thinking about community, and in fact we have a group at the local allotments here where we're working on a set of 5 plots together, so we're sharing in that sense. But it's not the same as the Kins domain, which is your own very special space. Incidentally, one of the ladies has got a part of a space which is very, it reminds me of this idea of the Kins domain, because it's her space. She's invested her time and the essence of her being in that land. And I'm actually here at a couple of friends, and he's got a similar thing going on in his own back garden, where he's developed this area which for him, he reconnects with the earth, lies on the grass, and if it's raining, it's an added bonus for him.
I love it.
I can't remember exactly why I came on. Yes, I do. The UK group you mentioned, I've been trying to find it in the chat, but I'm finding it a real challenge. Could you say
I will
it?
post it again, no problem. Here it
Could you
is,
say it?
right here.
Is it a Telegram group?
So it's just, yeah, it's a Telegram group. I just put the link right there. It's the first one in the chat, and really lovely group of people in there.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for being here, brother. I'm really glad that you're joining even without reading the books, and that they've found this kind of resonance with you, and what you're talking about is and this is something that I've observed, right? Because with eco villages and communities that have happened in the West previously, what I've found is that a lot of Western minds find the idea of a Kins domain settlement to be very new and unfamiliar, because the focus is on the individual's 2.5 acre, right, piece of land, the hectare, rather than coming together specifically just to create a community, right? The intention is on my space of love for my family. I want to bring my family line together here in this specific place forever. I want my children to live here and their children to live here and all of this. And my space of love, this family next to me wants to create their space of love as well. So now we're going to do this together, right? And each hectare is a self-sufficient entity, right? As much as it can be. And so it's very different from, like, it's not just coming together to create a community for a community's sake. I think what happens is when people put too much focus on the communal aspect, they lose their connection and their reason for being there in the first place, which is like to build a space of love for my family, right? And it's not like a selfish thing, but you got to have a reason to endure and connect with that land. There has to be that kind of motivation there, right? To not forget about that. And I think that that's something that we've seen play out in Russia and in different places. But I definitely think that contributes. That's part of the reason why some settlements in the United States weren't as successful previously, because there was such a focus on building a community, but not building spaces of love for families, so it's kind of a very interesting idea. And thank you, Erzi. I appreciate that. If the way that I come across is calm and clear, then I must be doing my job at least somewhat correctly. So thank you. I appreciate. I love the feedback. And Robin, I saw that you have your hand up here, so please.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to say hi and just ask a few things of you. We here in Florida, there's a couple of different places that are trying to get maybe a kin's domain together. But what they're starting to do is only rent you some of the land. And this is where I'm seeing, I don't know if land is so expensive here. And they said you can
Yeah.
bring or buy a little place, but they want to rent that little area, which is again, not exactly with what Anastasia is talking about. Because if you have a family, that whole part of that is for your children, your grandchildren, and you want to have that land, especially
ownership,
because I have no idea where this world is going, but soil and land and nature is going to be very important. And that's, if I'm going to be a grandmama, I have to be looking forward into those generations to protect my generations. And so a couple of things in Florida have started up, but it's like, well, if you pay so much, then you can have your little place there around like-minded people, but that's not a kin domain. And so I will let you know that I'm trying to get a circle in a book club here in Sarasota, Florida. And we're going to get a couple of people. We've already got some on Telegram, and I'm going to start a book club at the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Life.
Are you in the Florida Telegram group, Rob?
Yes, and I did post that a little bit.
Nice.
But I wanted to let y'all know because it'll be on Zoom as well as in person, because at the end of it, what I'd like to do is practice the remote viewing and healing like Anastasia did. So yes, let's read the books, but we're supposed to be activating our talents. We are supposed to have had these gifts all along, and we're going to need them, but let's do what she's espousing and let's practice those talents and help heal the world and each other and have that remote view capability. So I just letting you know, come hopefully in October, I'm going to try to get that going here the fourth Sunday of every month. And then one other quick thing is when we said to try to reach the children, and it is really hard, and I do understand the inner city. I grew up inner city. So believe me, I understand the poverty. How best can we reach children? If we can get them into the schools, that's great. But sometimes you don't even have that capability. But books, if we could get some of these books into those libraries in the school, that was my saving grace, is at least I could go to a library and you get a free library card.
I'm going to be flooding the libraries when we publish the books.
Yes.
I'm going to be flooding them.
So I just bought a bunch because I'm starting the book club up here, but from you, but I just wanted to let you know that. And I thank every one of you that's
Such a good
shining
suggestion.
light here. Thank you. Thank you for starting this momentum because we need it.
Robin, I want to say thank you for being here. I think it's the first time that I've seen you and we're connecting. So really glad that you've joined us. And so the people that you mentioned in Florida, like the communities and things that we're starting, and you mentioned like renting, are these Ringing Cedars people specifically? I'm just curious.
Chad was one of them, and he's in that
Chad. Okay.
Chad, but see, he wants you to pay so much money and you can bring something there. And then I've been talking to everyone trying to see where I can buy some land. Can I get some like-minded people? And the land is getting so expensive now. I've been trying to get land for 4 years, and every time you try to lock and load on something, it just gets wiped from you. So, but to me, we need to have our own land because it can be so easily taken from us. And even from the conflicts, what you're talking about, you don't ever want to be beholden to someone else, being able to take the land from you. You need your children and your grandchildren. Isn't that the purpose?
Ownership, yeah. One of the things that I've heard from some of our settlement founder friends in Russia, because there's different approaches of like, when do you give people land when they join the community, right? That's a question. And so what I found, what seems to be the best way, is give them full ownership immediately. No, like large trial period or whatever, because people will feel secure that they have full ownership. They'll feel confident and inspired to move forward. Right. And I think honestly, that's the best thing, because like there's always that lingering anxiety, right? I don't fully own this and I'm investing my heart and soul into this. Like there's a discrepancy there, a large discrepancy there. Um, unless I'm guaranteed to be able to own this in a certain period of time, and that's in writing and it's binding, otherwise, it's kind of scary. And one of the other things about your book club, I'm really excited to hear about that. Please contact me on Telegram directly. I'd love to follow up and see how we can help promote. I love seeing when people want to like bring people together and make things happen. So if you're doing that, I would love to help make it more successful.
Can you
So
put your
please reach out
email?
to me.
Yeah, please put your
Yeah, I'll
email
put my
here.
Telegram handle. I saw that you're on Telegram. You know what? I can just message you, I think. You're Robin Duvray on Telegram? Is that
Yeah,
you?
it'll come up Robin
Okay.
Duvray, and I'm a reverend with one of it's a Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light. It's very
Sure.
wonderful. You like it. It's not a church, but I'm
Yep.
in a situation where I can, get this going for everybody, because I
Awesome.
think the first thing is to activate each other, educate. Let's get our love lights going and see if we can't. I'd really like to create something down here in Florida.
Yep. I just messaged you
Great.
on Telegram, so you'll see a
Okay.
message from me and we can follow up. Beautiful.
Perfect. And just so you know, I had been reading all the books for like 15 years, so I'm not new. I was all
I
excited
love it.
when all this you started the momentum. So I'm so
Thank
appreciative.
you.
Thank you for your energy for getting this going.
Thank you. It's Anastasia needs help, man. She needs help, and I'm just playing my
Yes,
part.
we need to be her hands and fingers.
That's right. She
Yeah.
needs help.
We, we all
Yep.
we all need to. Just want to say quickly, on somebody else is listening now. I don't care if someone called me a conspiracy theorist, but I firmly believe from all the research I've been doing that things are radically going to change here in the near future in the way we do things. And the particular point I want to raise is that most people that think they own property in America actually do not own a damn thing. What they own
Oh,
is
well, yeah, we can
the
get into that.
title to lease the land. LOT, lot number, means lease of title.
Mhm.
And Anastasia, what we're talking about, I could go into the quantum domain and energy stuff, but the point is that the energy, the spirit, the radiant, brilliant, radiant spirit that we are within these bodies, within the avatar, we are all connected at the energy level. So when you actually do own the land, the energy connection is far more significant than I think anyone could probably appreciate. When you rent something,
Agreed.
or if you think you own something, you're still actually technically disconnected from the root source. I'll just
Mhm.
leave it at that for the moment. But I'm
Yeah,
confident
it
things are
sounds
about to
like you're
change.
alluding, Patricia. It sounds like you're alluding to land patents and things like this, like allodial title,
Yes,
and how,
exactly.
yes, normal title to land and warranty deeds is not full title and all this stuff. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And Anastasia, the first thing she says about creating kins domains, the first sentence she says, take a piece of land for yourself in that place. She's talking about the climate in
Right.
perpetuity, right?
In
So in
perpetuity is the key.
perpetuity is the yeah, and when you have your land in perpetuity, I completely agree with you. It opens up a whole new thing. Um
Right.
and well, man,
Exactly.
if we start talking about land patents, anybody who wants to know about that, we can, yeah, it sounds like we've got some people who are aware. Um, but there's a lot with that. So, and Jason, I saw you've been patiently waiting with your hand up here. So please feel
Can you
free
hear
to
me?
take the floor. Yes,
Can
we
you
hear
hear
you
me, Gabe?
perfectly. Yes,
Can
sir.
you hear me? Hello, hello. Not yet. You don't
We
hear
hear
me?
you.
Okay, perfect. Hey,
There might be a delay.
I'm old school, but with the children in the cities, a lot of times, and being a hillbilly, I understand things a little different. But have you considered possibly taking especially book 1 and probably book 3, and just making sort of a comic book out of it for young people
Oh,
and
that'd be
for
cool.
people like
Yeah, like a
myself?
graphic novel.
Well, not
Yeah.
even a graphic novel. I mean, well, that too, obviously, but especially when you're trying to get into the inner cities, a lot of times
Yeah.
they wouldn't be like everything, but it starts moving people toward the concept of getting back to the land, and then helping these
Yeah.
young people, especially the boys. I can't speak for the females. I don't understand that type of that thought, but helping the young boys to see how it could be fun, and then make a series and then
Cool.
start building,
Yeah.
because you have to start young with, especially our people. You got to start young, because if you start them, you get much past 30 years old, 40, they're just set in their ways. And so you want to get young, but you throw a paperback book at them with all them words. They're not going to do anything with it. But you make a kind of a comic book, or I call it comic book, but whatever you call it, and you start doing things like that. All of a sudden, it becomes fun, and then you can start moving them toward a Saturday school, and then you can start moving them, with their parents' permission, of course. But then you can start moving, especially since you said you have a desire to help people in the inner city. That is a whole different mindset, and I'm sure you are aware of that. And so this
Totally.
is a
Very.
possibility that you could get permission to create some, maybe a 3 or 5-part series in terms of comic books,
Yeah.
without, all the rigmarole that you're going through to get the paperbacks done.
It's a great question, because I can ask, I don't know how you term this in copyright law and stuff, but maybe this is like included under derivative works and stuff like that. And I might be able to,
Exactly.
yeah, I should probably because I like that idea. Like, one of our team members, Elizabeth, got me a illustrated version of The Alchemist, which I just thought was like a really cool approach. It was the entire Alchemist book, but like in a visual format, and it was executed very well, and the art was very good. And so yeah, I love that idea, and I
And
will see
with the
what I can
AI
do in
now,
my contract to okay with Vladimir something like that potentially happening. I think that would be really cool. That's awesome.
and with AI, you can create the graphics in minutes. Okay, they don't have to be perfect, because there is no perfection within that, and so you can create the panels, and you can build a comic book, in 5 minutes, and then you just kind of, I'm just saying, you can make it as
No, you got a
complicated
point.
or as simple as you want it.
Right. I love it. I love it.
And I've got another question, since people have been starting to bring that up, because here in the good old United States of America, as it's already been stated, we do not own the land. And of course, you made available a gentleman who was really started to understand maybe how to put the land in such a way to make it perpetuity. But on the other hand, we are such a litigious society. This is what we call the Western world. I love the Western world. I live here. I was born here. But on the other hand, let's say a person was starting to actually build a genuine piece of land, and actually developing the concepts of Anastasia. But all of a sudden, this guy he falls in love. Well, in our country, the love thing, marriage thing doesn't work very well. But on the other hand, I'm not sure about other countries, but here it just doesn't work. And at the same time, a guy, he puts in thousands of hours, millions of dollars, but the law says, hey, if you'll divorce that guy, you can have his place. So how does a man protect himself so that the land will go from generation to generation and just not let the court system steal it from him?
Yep.
And then it's going to be sold to anybody. And so that whole kids domain concept goes kapooey. Have you ever thought about that?
Absolutely. It's a great question. One of the easier ones, I guess, if people are gonna get married, obviously not involving the state as the parent in the relationship. So common law marriage is definitely the way. But for the other thing is putting the land in trust. Definitely put the land in trust immediately, you know, have your beneficiaries and all the conditions on how the land is supposed to be used and some competent trustees in place to make sure that will gets executed, because you're right. Like there are all these like unknowns that might happen, you know, and it's better to be prepared. So I definitely think the trust structure is probably the best thing you can do to mitigate those types of things, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, but not a statutory trust. There's a difference between a statutory trust and the common law trust. The statutory trust, you're still within the deep state system, and but the other, the UBTO is not.
Right. Yeah, you do an express trust, irrevocable express trust, and non-statutory, and you'll be good. Obviously, you got to have the right trustees in place, and you have to, you know, write your trust indenture properly and all the stipulations and all this. But that's probably the best way to do it, because nobody wants to be in violation of a trust. That's not fun. So yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad that it finds people who appreciate it. And thanks for being here. It's my first time meeting you, so it's a pleasure. Jason, where are you, by the way?
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, I saw
Actually,
that you shared that.
I'm Nathaniel. It's got one of my it's got my actual email name, but this is Nate.
Ah, got you. Okay, so you're Nate. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Good to meet you, brother. It's a pleasure. And yeah, that's a great idea about the
comic books.
Some sort of like graphic book. I definitely, so I actually have a friend in Russia. She does like illustrated books geared towards children, but like with a Ringing Cedar spin on them, you know, with the Ringing Cedars values and stuff. And they're really beautiful. I can probably share a link here. Her name is Anna. I forget her last name, but she's a wonderful artist. Makes these beautiful like Ringing Cedars children's books. And I think Vladimir would probably like that. So I'm gonna mention it to him, because we're doing the audiobooks, the ebooks, but I want to talk about derivative things like that. So that's a great idea. Yeah. Beautiful, my friend. So we're 2 hours and 20 minutes in. And it feels like the time has kind of flown by, truthfully. I wish we were all in the same room together, hanging out and talking, because this has been a great conversation. And I just want to respect everybody's time here. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's been here. I just want to open the floor one last time. If there's anything that anybody wants to share before we get off, please feel free. I love hearing from all of you, but this has been absolutely delightful.
I have one.
I just want to
thing
quickly
sign
say
out.
it's been the best Sunday afternoon I've spent in a very long time. Thank you.
I love it, Patricia. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing.
Can I just share one thing that I
Please.
uncovered with the group that you guys will be amazed, because I was floored? I was teaching on the book of Dazan, which is the book of creation, which is in the Himalaya mountains. It's called the White Ashram. and only the great avatars of light have access to it. And in that book, the latest revelations that came from a Russian woman that was able to get to it, she spoke of Anastasia, that's in the book of creation, in the book of Dazan, being an avatar from another planetary system, and it's in the book of creation. It is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you gotten to book 10, Robin?
Yes. Well, I read all of them, and I got what I could online on the book 10, but I didn't get the full forward part of it.
So
Is that what they're
it's making
saying
me
there
think
too?
of, so Anastasia talks a lot about what she refers to as the first civilization, the descendants of Adam and Eve, right? And what they accomplished, and involving using Kin's domains as a biological spaceship for traveling from planet to planet and spreading life through the universe. I just did some major spoilers. I'm sorry if anybody here hasn't made it that far
Oh,
in the
but my
in the
God, that's
series yet.
wonderful.
If you guys check out the link that I just put in the chat, and I should put this in the YouTube description as well, but that links to a folder that has all the Ringing Cedars books in PDF form, including book 10. And then there's also, for pretty much no one knows this exists, but there was a updated version of book 1 that was released in 2021 in Russia, and hasn't been translated into English yet, but I translated all the new chapters. So there's 13 new chapters in book 1 that continue from where book 10 leaves off. So there's a lot of new material. So book 10 was published in English in 2016. So there may be some people who might not know about that. And then the new chapters in 2021, I roughly translated them, and they're all in that folder, anastasia.foundation/books. Yeah, we're pirating. Until everything is published properly, this is how we're going to do it. So we got to do it. Okay. I'm glad I asked if there's anything else that people wanted to share, because I would not have mentioned that. Um, so yes, and Robin, thank you for being here. I look forward to connecting more. Um, all right, anybody else want to share anything before we hop off here? Maybe not. All righty. Well, thank you all for your time. It's been such a pleasure. The pleasure has really, been mine. And I look forward to the next one. These happen on the new moon of every month. Easy to remember. I just picked the new moon. I think in November we're having 2 of them because there's 2 new moons in November, but we're sticking to the new moon thing. And so easy to remember. Catch us on the new moon. You'll see this on YouTube. Anybody on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, help us manipulate the algorithm and recommend this to more people so more Ringing Cedars readers can find us. So, all right, friends, it's been such a pleasure. Talk to you all soon. Look forward to connecting more. See you next month. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.